Hey guys and girls, King Lear here from Proceed to Checkpoint, and we're going to go through the quick tactics guide for Amdapor Keep hard mode, the new dungeon in patch 2.5. I'm just going to cover the bosses as the trashes are fairly straightforward in this dungeon. There's nothing really to them. The first tactic to be aware of on boss number 1 is he will cast Hail of Sorrow. This is a circular AoE. Fairly simple to just run out of this. It isn't targeted on the boss but a random player in the group, so just be expecting it and get out of the circle and you're home free. The main tactic to be aware of in this fight is there are 4 statues around the outside of the arena. Throughout the fight, the boss will put a red target over someone's head, and this means he's about to channel an attack to them. The person who's targeted has to run behind one of the statues, so the attack hits the statue and not the player. The statues do have health, which reduces the more they're hit, so it's always a good idea to get behind the one that has the most hit points to ensure the statue doesn't break and the attack hit the player. The only other tactic this boss has which might cause a problem for you is a line charge channel. He will target a player with this straight line, and when it is done he will charge that player. Now this can be avoided by hiding behind the statues, but that will one-shot a statue and you really want to keep those for the tether. So the best thing we found was for whoever was targeted to just run towards the boss, keep the charge distance as short as possible and just be healed up afterwards. It doesn't typically do a huge amount of damage, so you should be survivable. Moving towards the boss means that at least you are not causing the boss to move around the room. The reason you don't want the boss to move around the room with his charge, and one of the other important things to note about this particular fight, is his auto attack is a cleave. Anyone in front of the boss is going to be hit by him, so the tank needs to keep him facing away from the group at all times, and everyone has to make sure not to stand in front of him. He does cleave, it's quite a wide cleave, and if you're not behind him, he's going to hit you pretty hard, so just make sure to stay behind the boss at all times. They're all of the notable tactics for this fight, and if you bear that in mind, you should be able to get this guy down no problem. The second boss in this dungeon is called the Boogeyman. Again, he's reasonably simple. I'd almost say this guy is easier than the first boss in the dungeon, but there are a couple of notable tactics to pay attention to. First of all, he has quite a few AoEs, including cones shooting from the front of him and AoEs around him that must be avoided. There's nothing crazy special about these, so I won't go into detail in them, but just pay attention to the AoEs in the fight and make sure you're dodging them. The major tactic for this particular fight is the boss will cast Invisible. When this happens, he will, surprisingly enough, turn invisible. You have to kill the luminescence that's been at the side of the arena for the fight up to this point. When that dies, it will put a buff on you. The buff will be counting down for a couple of seconds, and when the timer on the buff is up, a small AoE will be emitted around you, at which time, as long as you're standing near the boss, he will be revealed from his invisibility. So kill the luminescence, get the buff on you, and move towards the boss's location before the debuff timer expires. That will reveal the boss and you'll be back to fighting him again. At 1 or 2 stages throughout the fight, the boss will summon a set of adds. These are extremely weak, don't have a lot of health, and don't do a crazy amount of damage, so just kill them quickly and you'll be alright. Midway through the fight, the boss will gain access to an ability called Entrance. It's a conal attack which he shoots out in front of him. If you can escape from this, it only affects the people who are facing the boss, so just turn your back to him and you should survive this attack without suffering from the confuse effect it causes. Towards the end of the fight, the boss will split into 2. Both will become invisible and a new set of adds will be spawned. Kill the adds as quickly as possible, then pop the luminescence orb as earlier and reveal the 2 bosses. Once they're both revealed, it's just a case of killing them, both of them, and the fight will be over. At this stage you have to be careful because you have twice the AoEs, twice the entrances, and twice the spells to watch out for. The The bosses do not go invisible again after they have been revealed once, so you can just DPS the 2, kill them, end of fight. Congratulations. Now I know I said I wasn't going to call out Trashion this, but there is one notable exception. After the second boss, you will come to an orb surrounded by statues. You must click the orb and waves of adds will begin to spawn. This is a DPS check. 4 demon walls will be moving towards you and you will have a large wave of adds to contend with. You have 150 seconds or so to deal with all of the waves of adds. If you don't make it, then your entire group will die as the demon walls will close in and kill you. The good thing about this particular DPS check is if you fail, when you return to complete it again, you will only have the mobs you didn't kill the first time to contend with. The previous waves will still be dead. So you can pretty much just beat your head against this and defeat it even if you can't make the DPS check. The last boss in this dungeon again is quite a heavy DPS check. There's adds in here which have to die pretty quickly, so if your DPS hasn't been up to scratch at this point, this is where you may begin to suffer. The first notable tactic with this boss is throughout the fight he will teleport to the center of the room and begin channeling an AoE spell. This AoE will grow and expand and eventually, if left unchecked, will fill the entire room so you won't be able to escape from it. You need to kill the adds that the boss is tethered to. As soon as they're all dead, the circle for the AoE will stop growing and you can just wait outside until he casts it. Go back in and start killing the boss again. Throughout the fight, the boss will put his slime on a player's head and begin casting a conal attack at them. These slimes are pretty weak, so the group need to kill them as soon as possible so the player that it was spawned on can escape from the AoE. The player who has the slime on their head can also attack at this point, so it shouldn't be any trouble to get that slime down and get the player out of the AoE. Partway through the fight, the boss will also begin to summon attacks across the arena in a crisscross formation. There's nothing really special about these other than the fact that you just have to dodge them at this point. In addition to this, the boss will summon spinning blades. These will be very visible. They'll be just blades spinning in a circle and anyone caught within them will be hurt. So just make sure that you're attacking and tanking the boss away from these spinning blades. They're all the main tactics for this particular fight. There will be a couple of differences as the fight progresses. For instance, towards the end of the fight, the slimes that are summoned on top of the players will be tougher ones that also prevent them from attacking themselves. The tactic doesn't change, however. Everyone that can needs to kill these slimes in order to let the player escape from the AoE or else they'll die. In addition to that, later when the boss moves to the center to cast his gigantic attack, instead of 3 weak imps, there will be 1 tougher mob, but the tactic again remains the same. Kill the mob that the boss is tethered to stop the AoE growing. That's literally it for this fight, and as long as you can pull that off, congratulations, Amdapor Keep hard mode is all yours. Don't forget to hit like and comment if you've enjoyed this to let me know. And if you have any tips for people, recommend them in the comments. If there's any tactics people point out to me afterwards that I've missed, I will include them in the description. So check the video description as well, just in case. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for some more Final Fantasy XIV content in the future. Good luck, guys.